Hello you guys, welcome back to channel Claire. I hope that you're doing well wherever you are in this crazy world, and only getting crazier. Like, it's insane. I already know that we're like in a very strange state in this world, society. Things are just really but this right here is troubling me, and it's not troubling, it's more so concerning to see the direction society is going. And maybe we're like super hella desensitized, and maybe this is an unpopular decision, but this whole Gypsy Rose Blanchard scenario that we have going on is just so strange to me. Like, is it lost on some people that she assisted in the murder of her mother? Now, with me saying that, I am well aware, you know, her mother had the Munchausen's by proxy, was doing all types of things to Gypsy, taking out body parts, doing the extra most, you know, like, I get it. And that could be torturous. Like, I'm not in that position. I hope to never have to be in that position. I haven't experienced it, but it is the fact that, given that the outcome was her engaging her boyfriend in convincing him in assistance planning of the murder of her mother. So she's in jail, what, 8 years? She gets out at the top of the new year, like right before the new year hits, and immediately she's on every social media platform and verified, fucking verified, okay? She has a book coming out. She's been doing like a series coming out. She's been doing a press tour. She was on The View. Joy Behar over there acting like she didn't know the girl assisted in murdering her mother. It's just very strange to me, and it makes me feel weird. And I'm like, what are we doing? We're making her a celebrity. Like, I see online, like, oh, that's my girl, like queen, calling her queen and stuff. I've seen edits, like fan cam edits of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her, well, her husband, not even boyfriend. Gypsy's talking about his dick is fire because people were trying to come at him. And I guess, you know, because he's a bigger guy, I guess his looks or whatever, so people were trying to talk shit about him and trying to slide into Gypsy's DMs. And she's like, the dick is fire. She's like, it's the strangest, like, she's doing outfit checks. Like, it's so strange to me, and it makes me wonder how her time was in jail. She must have been real comfortable. I mean, granted, you're in jail, but I'm sure she was comfortable, given the fact that she came out after 8 years and is literally on trend with everything. Like, she hasn't missed a effing beat. On trend with everything, okay? Came out with a Dior saddlebag and a whole Zara fit. I'm like, oh my gosh. So her boo must be funding all of this because, well, let me not say her boo is funding all of this. He may have been supporting her potentially in jail. I have no clue when they got married. But now that she's out, I'm sure she's making plenty of bags because everybody wants to know what's going on with Gypsy Rose Blanchard. And I just don't know how I feel about it. I think that it's so strange. And while I know the gist of the situation, I thought it'd be interesting to kind of like go in a little bit deeper to figure out, like, to educate myself on what actually happened. And then maybe I can make a better decision in my mind on how I should feel about this, you know? Yes, the girl went to jail, she did her time, she's out now, and she's living and enjoying her life. But on the other hand, I kind of feel like it couldn't be me. If I assisted in, if you know what I mean, if I assisted in murdering of my mother, went to jail for 8 years, I'm sure for hell not coming out and getting on The View and doing press. Certain people can get away with anything, and I find it so interesting. And I don't want to make everything about race. Not everything is about race. Like, I hate that, but like, I do know that a black girl, that's not gonna happen. That is not gonna happen. I'm sorry. Like, the same interest, the same care and kid gloves and handling that's being done towards Gypsy would not take place. This girl is like a celebrity. Paparazzi out front watching for her to come. Maybe it's just that we've never had a murderer who got out of jail and we're all just curious. I mean, human nature. I'm curious as hell. I just don't know how I feel about it. And this is, if she should be paraded around in this way, you know, it kind of feels weird. Okay, you guys, I am back at home, nice and toasty. It has been wet, just a nasty day outside. I'm so grateful to be home right now. You don't even know. So I do want to say, because before I was in my car talking briefly, and I'm on my break and whatnot, so I just have thoughts that I feel like I want to get out. But sometimes I may misspeak in what I say. So I want to clarify. Gypsy was sentenced to 10 years, okay? Served 7, all right? Sentenced to 10, served 7. And also, I said unpopular decision. I meant unpopular opinion, but it may be an unpopular decision for me to have done this because people feel very strongly on either side of this thing, and I seem to always be covering things where people feel very strongly about things, you know, on one side or the other. And I just wanted to take this time to kind of educate myself on what went down in this case, truly, because I understand a little bit. I understand the Munchausen by proxy. I understand that Gypsy was very much, I mean, I couldn't imagine going through what she went through, you know? So I understand that, but I also feel like her getting out of jail and going right into being like this international superstar is a little strange. It's a little weird. And that's just my opinion, okay? It's just my opinion, and who the fuck am I? So please don't get yourself in a tizzy and, you know, feel offended or anything like that by anything I have to say. It is simply my opinion. And if you disagree, it's fine. So we're gonna get into this. I also want to start with, just to like kind of summarize, it kind of shows these 2 tweets, how people are feeling about this scenario with Gypsy. And I love her name, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. It just like rolls off your tongue. It's like so iconic. So maybe she was meant to be a celebrity after all, because she just has a perfect freaking stage name, Gypsy Rose Blanchard. But these 2 tweets kind of really sum up what either side are feeling about Gypsy in this scenario with her mother, okay? I see people feeling like this is self-defense. Her planning and being an accessory to the murder of her mother, because her mother potentially, we don't know, could have killed her, given her, you know, Munchausen by proxy. If she kept going and kept going and kept going, who knows when she would have stopped, you know? So people are saying it's self-defense. Other people are calling Gypsy a manipulator, just like her mother, and that she's pulling the wool over our eyes and we're being manipulated. So there are very, very, very different thoughts on this situation with Gypsy, and I'm still trying to formulate mine, okay? So that's where we're at. Okay, so let's look at the different schools of thoughts on Miss Gypsy. We have this, who was posted by Ray, saying, if you have never experienced abuse, especially abuse at the hands of your own parent, you definitely should not speak on Gypsy Rose. You have absolutely no right to dictate how a victim of abuse should respond to their abuser, okay? And as a general statement that feels true and everything like that, all right? That tweet has 5K likes. On the opposite end, we have, this was posted by Lulu. The fact that Gypsy Rose manipulated a mentally unstable boy to murder her mama, and y'all are praising her, is just insane to me. Her mother was wrong as fuck, which she was, but murder is wrong as fuck too, and y'all are crazy as hell. Let little Kiki from the hood had killed her abusive mama. Yeah, which is true. We know certain people can get away with certain things. That's just the way of the world. It's sad, but it's true. You don't like me saying it, I'm sorry, but it is what it is, if you're being real. So those are kind of how people are feeling. One is like, Gypsy's manipulating this whole situation. she, you know, convinced this unstable boy to go and kill her mother. Other people are saying you don't have a right to speak if you've never been abused, you know, or abused by your parent, and you have no right to dictate how an abuser deals with a person who's been abused deals with their abuser. Okay? I think that, what do I think? I think that it's weird as fuck that Gypsy is got out of jail and has gotten all this attention. I don't think that if it was somebody else, that would be the case, okay? It just wouldn't be. I do agree that she was being abused, and I do agree that we have no clue when her mother would have decided to stop, and it could have been to the point of Gypsy dying, you know, being killed by her mother's Munchausen by proxy. But we will never know that because she was killed, all right? So that's the taking of a life, which I don't agree in murder. So I'm just so conflicted with this scenario. But I think there's this clip that I want to share with you guys from Gypsy. And she feels she's tired of explaining that she did not commit the act of murder, okay? So let's just watch this clip for a moment. Okay, just fair warning, Gypsy has a very distinct voice. If you have not heard her speak, she's a very distinct voice. But this is Gypsy on a podcast because she's making her rounds, honey. Getting her bags, honey. It is the strangest thing. But here she is, 2024, on a podcast right after jail, talking about this scenario. So let's listen. I haven't watched this yet, so this is going to be my first time hearing what she has to say.
International interviews last night, and one of the questions was like, how do you feel now that you're getting all this attention? You know, but you know, you're a murderer. Oh, so like she just flat out said it. It was a lady from the UK, and I'm kind of like, well, okay, and because it's always in my comments, like, why are we glorifying a murderer and this and the other? And you know, I don't want to have to remind people every single time that I'm not the one that committed the act of the kill. So, you know, I'm a part of it. Right. But in the state of Missouri, there's no such thing as accessory to murder.
There's not.
So technically, they couldn't charge me.
Hold up. There's no such thing to an accessory for a murder? Since when? Since when?
Accessory, because that charge doesn't exist. So, I mean, had I been in another state, I would have been charged with accessory to commit murder.
If she was in another state, she would have been charged with accessory to commit murder. So what was she charged with? Why were you sentenced to 10 years of jail, Gypsy, if accessory isn't a thing? Let me find out real quick. What was Gypsy charged with? She was charged with second-degree murder. Gypsy Rose Blanchard, officially out of prison, and the 32-year-old who was convicted of second-degree murder in 2015, killing her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard. So, second degree. I'm looking on here. Second degree. That's what she was charged with. Let's figure out what second degree murder is considered. What is second degree murder? Second degree murder. Second degree murder is the killing of a human being. One, when the offender has a specific intent to kill or inflict great bodily harm, like she planned it. She's like, I want people to realize I didn't murder. Like, I was an accessory to. Like, this is so weird to me. So, second degree, when an offender has specific intent to kill, or inflict great bodily harm, okay? When the offender is engaged in the preparation or attempted preparation of aggravated or first degree rape, forcible or second degree are aggravated arson, aggravated burglary. So attempted preparation of aggravated things. And so that is her charge. That sounds like an accessory to me. You prepared for this to happen. You planned for it to happen. You convinced an unstable boy to kill your mother. Y'all, let me finish this. Hold on. Oh, I guess that was it?
Yeah, the kill. So
Let's
I
listen
did
to
some
it.
international interviews last night, and one of the questions was like, how do you feel now that you're getting all this attention? You know, but, you know, you're a murderer. Oh, so, like, she just flat out said it. It was a lady from the UK.
Why is the host
and
acting
like,
all surprised? Oh, wow. Like, I mean, don't act surprised. Do not act shocked. Oh, my God. Like, girl.
Okay, and because it's always in my comments. Like, why are we glorifying a murderer and this and that and the other? And, you know, I don't want to have to remind people every single time that I'm not the one that committed the act of the kill. So, you know, I'm a part of it.
I'm a part of it. I'm not the one who committed the act of the kill. I'm a part of it.
In Missouri, there's no such thing as accessory to murder. So technically, they couldn't charge me with accessory because that charge doesn't exist. So, I mean, had I been in another state, I would have been charged with accessory to commit murder. Accessory.
Ow. Like, they sound stupid as hell. You know why you had the girl on your show. Why are you acting surprised by what she's saying, clutching your pearls and shit? Like, I didn't commit the act of the kill. I was a part of it. Stop it. So that's how Gypsy feels about it. She's sick of reminding people she did not do the act of the kill. She was a part of it, okay? So she was charged with second-degree murder. Not accessory. Had she been in another state, that could have been different. She was convicted of, she was sentenced to 10 years, served 7, but her boyfriend at the time, let's see how long, I think he got life. He was charged with first degree. Nicholas Gojan. Her ex-boyfriend convicted of first-degree murder in connection with the killing of Blanchard's mother. What is his sentence? And he has a life sentence, okay? And they're saying that he was mentally unstable, but he has a life sentence. But Gypsy didn't do the act of killing, okay? Said out her mouth she was a part of it, but gets 10 years and serves 7. I don't know if I think that's fair. This is such a whacked situation, you guys. Such a whacked situation. So let's get into what actually took place, all right? Let me educate myself. And for those of y'all who don't know, maybe educate you as well, and we'll share the knowledge. So let's see. I do also want to say that I do believe I saw a clip when she was on The View, when she was talking to the camera and she was talking to people who may, you know, be in similar situations. And saying that, like, you know, not to go the route that she took, which, you know, she's admitting what happened was wrong, you know. And I'm glad that she did share that sentiment, but it just, I don't feel settled about this. And before we get into what happened, I really want to know what Munchausen by proxy is, like in specific medical terms, okay? So Munchausen syndrome by proxy is a mental illness. A mental illness, so I guess like if a mental illness means like a chemical imbalance, right? Munchausen by proxy is a mental illness and a form of child abuse. So it is abuse. The caretaker of a child, most often a mother, either makes up fake symptoms or causes real symptoms to make it look like the child is sick. And I'm guessing the reason for this is potentially like for attention. Maybe they get high off of that. They get special treatment because Gypsy, I think she got like a house and, you know, trips, and, you know, you get special perks when people think that you're ill, especially terminally ill. And, you know, like, of course, like, you want to make people's lives easier that are dealing with unimaginable illnesses that they cannot control. So, of course. So that's what Munchausen syndrome by proxy is, okay? So what happened? Let me find a good, well-rounded article to kind of summarize for us what took place with Miss Gypsy Rose, Claudine Blanchard, who is her mother, and Nicholas. And this is a picture of Gypsy and her mom back when all that stuff was happening. And it is fucked up, you know. I mean, what her mother was doing, it's wrong. It's wrong. It really was. But that's them. There's another picture of them. Looks like a dog too. So that's another picture of Gypsy and her mom. Okay, so I found this article on biography.com, the story of Gypsy Rose Blanchard and her mother. Gypsy Rose's mother, Dee Dee, falsely claimed her daughter was suffering from different illnesses until Gypsy arranged for her boyfriend to kill her mother in 2015. Okay? Wow. So it says that Gypsy grew up with her mother, and she started making claims about her health that resulted in a series of dire diagnoses and medical interventions. Okay? However, Gypsy wasn't actually unwell, and her mother had been lying about her symptoms. Experts believe Dee Dee's behavior stemmed from a mental disorder, Munchausen syndrome by proxy. Because Dee Dee wanted to be a caretaker, she feigned an induced illness on her daughter. The truth about Gypsy and her mother only came out after Gypsy arranged for an online boyfriend to murder Dee Dee in 2015. Okay? So, Gypsy was born in 1991. And this started with Dee Dee and Gypsy when Gypsy was a baby, okay? Dee Dee was claiming that her daughter had sleep apnea. It progressed to when she was 8 years old. Dee Dee was describing Gypsy suffering from leukemia and muscular dystrophy, okay? I think that's like when you can't control your muscles. This storm is really raging. Oh my goodness. I don't know if you guys can hear this. So because of this, she required a wheelchair. So Gypsy wasn't walking. Even though Gypsy knew she could walk, she wasn't walking because she was in a wheelchair. And a feeding tube. Now that is just... a feeding tube when you don't need it is fucking wild, okay? Like, that's wild. That is... all right. The list of medical problems that Dee Dee related to her daughter would go on to include seizures, asthma, hearing, and visual impairments. So, like, everything in the world. And it's so interesting that she was doing this because she wanted to be her caretaker. It has to be about some type of, like, needing of attention. Like what is the... wow. Our brains are so interesting. So due to this, Dee Dee's actions, Gypsy was prescribed a litany of medications that she did not need. She had to use sleeping and breathing machines. She also went through multiple unnecessary surgeries, which, what the fuck are the doctors doing? Like, how? She didn't have these things, but yet you're doing surgery? You're doing surgery on what? Like, what the fuck? How do things get to this point? Like, who is just not doing their due diligence and just like collecting a check because you want to do a surgery? Like, this is wild. So they're doing all these surgeries that weren't needed, multiple, including procedures on her eyes and removal of her salivary glands. What the fuck is a salivary? Is that saliva? What the fuck is a salivary? Removal of her salivary glands? Let me figure out what a salivary... bear with me. Bear with me. What is a salivary gland? So it's a saliva gland. It makes saliva, which aids in digestion, which keeps your mouth moist and helps support teeth health. So why the fuck are they removing her salivary glands? What illness did that have to do with? And then because of that, I'm guessing because it keeps up your teeth health, it keeps your mouth moist, Gypsy's teeth started to rot. All right? And perhaps also that was due to the fact that she was taking medications. And then because of that, her damn teeth are pulled out her damn head, which is a horrible. I only had the 4 fucking done for my wisdom teeth, and that was horrible. I couldn't imagine all your goddamn teeth being pulled out your head. Like, madness. Madness. Yet the truth was that Gypsy could walk, she didn't need a feeding tube, and she didn't have cancer. And her head was bald because her mother cut her hair off. Wow. Experts believe that Dee Dee had a mental illness known as Munchausen by proxy. Okay. So this made her fabricate all of these illnesses for her child because she wanted to receive attention and sympathy for taking care of a sick child. Like, I knew that had to be the reason. Like, and it stems, fuck. Wow. This is just a wild situation because clearly her mother was unwell. Obviously. I mean, I just don't understand how these doctors are doing. Did anything happen to the doctors for Gypsy Rose? Why are you taking people's salivary glands? What, like, what? This is what happened to the doctors who treated Gypsy Rose. I'm trying to figure out, like, have any doctors faced repercussions for treating Gypsy and not discovering that she wasn't actually ill? No, not really. They're working on it, apparently. But from what I'm reading here on this little article, no. Nothing happened. None of these lawyers who have been reached out to for malpractice, nobody wants to touch it, and they reject it. And this is from Christy Blanchard, Gypsy's stepmom. Mommy Dead and Dearest. They did a docu-series. We spoke to Erin Lee Carr, the director of Mommy Dead and Dearest, and Christy Blanchard, Gypsy's stepmom, for a series of articles that delve further into the lives of Gypsy and her mother. So, yeah, Christy Blanchard says, we're in the works of that right now. We reached out to a few lawyers that work in malpractice. None of them want to touch it. That's fucking wild. Y'all did surgery on a girl who did not need that shit. Like, how was that not questioned? How are they not in jail? Like, how do you... What? This world is so fucking whacked. Oh my gosh. So it says Dee Dee's mom, well, not Dee Dee's mom, Gypsy's mom, Dee Dee, appeared to be charming, devoted mother, so people believed her. And medical tests often showed inconclusive or contradictory results regarding Gypsy's diagnosis. So why at that point was shit not further questioned? But Dee Dee would not stop seeing any doctors who questioned her. But Dee Dee would stop seeing any doctors who questioned her daughter's ailment. So if somebody questioned it, she was like, oh shit, let me go to another doctor. And then someone else would take her. And then I guess they would do the surgery that she was wanting. Like that. Wow. So, and many caregivers went along with what Dee Dee wanted. She had some nursing training so she could accurately describe these symptoms, and sometimes gave Gypsy medication to mimic certain conditions. So she was potentially poisoning Gypsy to mimic certain conditions of her having these diseases. The mom was whacked, okay? Like, the mom was literally whacked. I get that. I have an understanding more of what was going on in this household with Gypsy and her mother, and it sounds terrifying. Like, you have your, like, you know deep down, you're sitting in a wheelchair, you know deep down you can get up and walk. your mother is parading you around and shit like you got every disease in the book. And she had to have been terrified to say anything, because who knows what her mother's reaction would have been. Because obviously she wasn't in a right state of mind. She could have snapped. So I see people saying, you know, I understand the self-defense. That this is, oh my God, I'm so conflicted. Because I don't think murder is right. But then hearing all of this shit, I'm like, this is fucking wild. This is fucking wild. Where was I? When Gypsy was old enough to talk, Dee Dee instructed her not to volunteer information during their appointments. She was always the one relating Gypsy's fake history. So they would get in the doctor's office and Gypsy's sitting there quiet, and her mother saying, oh, she has asthma and she has seizures and she can't. Why? I'm still stuck on the salivary glands. Where the fuck does that come in at? Like she got leukemia. She got several things went wrong in this situation. It's the fault of several people who did let Gypsy down, who did not question things, who did not do their due diligence, who just wanted a fucking check, I guess, because, you know, if you do surgery, I guess you're getting a check from insurance or some the fuck body. It's really sad. It truly is. So, oh yeah, I wanted to hear about the father. So Dee Dee told Gypsy's father, Rod Blanchard, that their daughter had a chromosomal disorder that led to so many of her health issues. He complimented Dee Dee for her devoted care, because he thought she was caring for their terminally ill daughter. So he's complimentary of that, you know. When some of Dee Dee's family noticed that Gypsy didn't seem to need a wheelchair and asked questions, Dee Dee up and moved away with Gypsy. Questioning, oh, we going to a new doctor. Oh, family questioning, oh, we moving somewhere else. Wild behavior. It's a shame that it had to get to the point of somebody losing their life, because it was clear that Dee Dee Claudine needed help and was not right in the head. She needed to be in an institution somewhere. She needed to get some help. Okay? And it's sad that it got to this point, because so many people just wanted to turn a blind eye, or just wanted to check, or didn't care to question more. It didn't care to investigate more. And then all of this only came out after somebody is dead and gone. So Dee Dee and Gypsy up and move away, because families start noticing she don't need a goddamn wheelchair. Okay? Like, I feel like that would be so hard to train yourself, you know, knowing you could fucking walk. Say something like, I feel like it would just be so hard to fake that. It would take so much consciousness to just, like, you know what I mean? Like, say somebody drops something, your natural instinct is to, like, get up and, like, pick it up for, you know what I mean? And then you're like, oops, I done fucked up now. Like, it's just, it's wild. Oh, so apparently Dee Dee was also claiming to be a victim of Hurricane Katrina. So she was wild. So because of this, her and Gypsy received assistance to relocate from Louisiana to Missouri in 2005. There, Dee Dee continued to bring Gypsy to doctor's appointments. Hurricane Katrina also provided an excuse for missing medical files. God damn it. See, this is the thing. Like, yes, it's a mental illness, but you know, I still think she knew right from wrong. I'm talking about Dee Dee's mom. You know right from wrong. You know right from wrong. Wow. A lot of planning went into this. So then Gypsy grows up to be a teenager, and Dee Dee's still claiming that she's sick, and it's harder to control. Like, it's super easy to control an infant, a toddler, you know, a young one, but a teenager, that's different. You start getting hormones and feelings, you start smelling yourself, you start getting attitude, you start wanting to talk back, especially with a mother who is acting completely nutty and trying to make you do this, that, and the other when you know you need none of it. Of course, it's going to start getting difficult when Gypsy starts to be a teenager. So, but even then, she was still claiming that Gypsy was sick, and then she started to lie about Gypsy's age. In 2008, Gypsy and Dee Dee moved into a new home in Springfield, Missouri, built by Habitat for Humanity. So a whole free house when there's people who are in actual need, who need these services. It was painted pink and had a wheelchair ramp. They received benefits that included charity-sponsored visits to concerts, to Disney World. And Dee Dee got to bask in the attention she received for being a devoted caretaker. All the while, wasn't shit going on. Whoa. So Gypsy turns 14. She sees a neurologist in Missouri who came to believe she was a victim of Munchausen by proxy. Finally, somebody who got some fucking sense. However, well, apparently not. Maybe I spoke too soon. However, this doctor never reported her case to authorities. Like, what the fuck is that about? You think you're a neurologist? Aren't they mandated reporters of abuse, like doctors and therapists and everything? Aren't you mandated to report foolishness and crimes when it comes to children and minors and shit, and like the elderly? What the fuck? Like, how are these doctors not in jail or didn't get some type of repercussions as well? So the neurologist, yet somebody else who didn't do shit, didn't report shit. Later, in later interviews, he stated that his belief was that there wasn't enough evidence to act. Then find the motherfucking evidence. If you gave a fuck, if you truly cared a fuck, why wouldn't you get some more evidence? Why wouldn't you investigate some more? I don't think I could sleep knowing I got this inkling in my mind that this woman is bringing her daughter in with all types of fucking illnesses, and I'm looking at stuff, and I'm looking at the medical records, I'm looking at the charts, I'm looking at the x-rays and shit, and it's not adding up. It would rack my brain over and over and over again what the fuck is going on, to the point where I would have to find out to have some peace. This person is just like, oh, well, there wasn't enough evidence. I don't understand that. I don't get it. So then in 2009, an anonymous report was made to authorities stating that Dee Dee's accounts of Gypsy's ailments had no medical basis. Okay, so somebody anonymously went to authorities, finally, in 2009. This resulted in 2 caseworkers visiting their home, but Dee Dee convinced them there was nothing wrong. Oh, this woman was crafty. She was charming and manipulative as fuck, which is why people think her daughter is similar to... For you to convince all these people that your daughter has all these ailments and illnesses and shit, and there's nothing of that going on, oh, you're skilled in some manipulation. No. And you knew right from wrong, Dee Dee. You knew right from wrong. Like, you may have been ill, mentally ill, but you knew right from wrong. Wow. So she convinced the caseworkers visiting their home that there was nothing wrong. As Dee Dee grew older, Dee Dee began to lie about her age, going so far as to alter the dates on Gypsy's birth certificate. So you definitely knew what the fuck you were doing was wrong, Dee Dee. To make her daughter seem younger, but Gypsy was still becoming harder for Dee Dee to control. I am sure. So then in 2011, it skips to 2011, Gypsy convinces a man she meets online to kill Dee Dee. So first, in 2011, Gypsy tried to get away from her mother by running away with a man she'd met in a science fiction convention. But Dee Dee soon tracked them down via mutual friends. So Gypsy did try to get away. She did try to get away, but she got brought back. She convinced the man that Gypsy was a minor, even though in real life, Gypsy was 19. But of course, someone saying somebody is a minor, you're gonna back the fuck up off it, as you should. Then, according to Gypsy, Dee Dee smashed her computer, which you're limiting her access to the outside world. So all she has is let me not say what I want to say, you to communicate with, which would be maddening. So I'm sure that tipped her over the edge. And physically restrained her to her bed after they returned home. So now you're strapping people down to the fucking bed, Dee Dee. This is wild. I'm so glad I looked into this more. Like, in my heart of hearts, I don't think murder is right, but like, maybe I understand it more. This is a fucked situation. It's so fucked. So she restrained her to the bed. Gypsy also stated her mother would sometimes hit her and deny her food. Oh, Dee Dee was in that house acting a plump fool, okay? So somehow, eventually Gypsy manages to get back online. And then she joins a Christian dating site. And this is where she meets Nicholas Gojan, all right? I'm probably pronouncing that horribly wrong. But she meets Nicholas, all right? She tells him the truth about her mother's actions, about the Munchausen by proxy, about all the fake illnesses and shit, and ends up asking him to kill Dee Dee so that they could be together. And that is where the issue lies. Because yes, she did run away that one time. Dee Dee managed to bring her back. But she went to the extreme of asking this man, with whom I guess was really, really in love with her, and they keep saying he was, you know, mentally unstable or whatever, convinced him and asked him to kill her mom. How do y'all feel about that? Is it self-defense? After everything I've read and, you know, everything we've just learned, was that okay? I'm really interested to know. Do you think that that's okay? Would you have done that if you were in a situation like that? Let me know in the comments. Like, I just don't know. I just don't know. Because all the shit that Dee Dee was doing was absolutely crazy as fuck. And so unnecessary. And she knew she was wrong because she was doctoring birth certificates. Anytime somebody questioned, she would up and move. She knew what she was doing was wrong. She was restraining her, hitting her, denying food. So she knew what the fuck she was doing was wrong, and it was abuse of her child. And Gypsy, in her mind, maybe obviously didn't know how far it was going to go. So she felt the need to ask Nicholas to kill Dee Dee. This is so like, it really makes you think about like your like morals and like what you value and what's right, what's wrong. Like, this brings up a lot, this whole scenario. It truly does. So she tells Nicholas the truth and says, you know, if you kill Dee Dee, my mom, we'll be able to be together. And Nicholas, being head over heels in love and wanting to protect his love, in June of 2015, I'm sorry, in June of 2015, he comes to her house and stabs Dee Dee while Gypsy waited, covering her ears in the bathroom. Let him in. I guess she had to let him in the house and stuff, and woo! So Gypsy and Nicholas then returned to his home in Wisconsin, and that's where they were found by police. Because Gypsy had posted on her Facebook account that she shared with her mother, writing, "That bitch is dead." She later explained she made the post because she wanted her mother's body to be discovered. So, after Dee Dee's murder, many people who had known Gypsy wondered why she'd gone so far as to kill her, and that's the question. Since she could walk, she simply could have exposed Dee Dee's lies by standing up in public. Yet Gypsy had been conditioned, because I guess her mother was restraining her, denying her food, hitting her, and everything else. She's been conditioned to think nobody would believe her, because that's what her mother was telling her, I guess. She explained, "I couldn't just jump up out of the wheelchair because I was afraid and didn't know what my mother would do. I didn't have anyone to trust." In my head, I'm thinking, okay, so you're in a public situation, you're in your wheelchair, you got your crazy ass mother behind you, and I feel like it would have, and I don't know, because I guess you're conditioned to shit. It would have been in an ideal, perfect world, if Gypsy would have got the fuck up and be like, look, this bitch is lying. She's lying. Ain't shit wrong with me. I could walk. I could walk. Ain't nothing wrong with me. Protect me, save me. I'm scared of this woman. Take me to the hospital. Check me out. Do my exam. I'm scared of this woman. Okay? Maybe then it would have been different and it didn't have to go to the point of Dee Dee being killed. She could have been locked up in a mental institution and Gypsy could have lived out her life the way she wanted after that and still would have had this story and, you know, this experience, but she wouldn't have had to go to jail for the 7 years and go through, you know, like, but we don't know the state of somebody in a situation like that because we have not gone through it. And I'm very aware of that, okay? It's just, this is a wild one. She didn't trust anybody. She didn't trust anybody at all. And I could kind of understand that too, because the fucking doctors are doing all these goddamn surgeries on her. And she's like, y'all know ain't shit wrong with me. But yet you still gonna do these procedures and surgeries on me when you know ain't shit wrong with me? That would cause distrust. That would make you feel like nobody believes you. God, I feel like I'm always a goddamn fence rider, but I feel like I'm really good at seeing both sides of situations, you know, and putting myself in people's shoes and trying to see both sides of things. Like, I think that's a good thing sometimes, and I understand it annoys some people, but like, this is a rough one. It really is. So, the fact was that Gypsy had spent her entire life being controlled and monitored by her mother. She wasn't allowed to go to school. Although Gypsy was of a normal intelligence, Dee Dee told everyone her daughter had a mental age of 7. Okay, so even I guess when she's 19 or whatever, she's trying to say, oh, but mentally she's 7. That's wild. That's... When they were out in public, Dee Dee constantly held Gypsy's hand, squeezing it when she wanted her daughter to be quiet. So digging her hands and, you know, her nails into her hair, squeezing her hand, controlling her. You better not say anything. Dr. Mark Feldman, an expert in Munchausen syndrome by proxy, said of Gypsy's life and actions, the control was total, in the same sense that the control of a kidnapped victim sometimes is total. Her daughter was, in essence, a hostage, and I think we can understand the crime that occurred subsequently in terms of a hostage trying to gain escape. And I can see that. So now that Gypsy is out of prison, she says she's not happy that Dee Dee is dead. Gypsy's medical records documented the abuse she'd been subjected to. Her lawyer was able to arrange a plea deal for the charges she faced in Dee Dee's death in 2016. Gypsy pled guilty to second-degree murder. She was sentenced to 10 years and served 85% of her sentence before being released December 28, 2023. Nicholas was found guilty of first-degree murder, as we spoke about, in 2018 and was sentenced to life in prison. And that I don't all the way, like, yes, you murdered someone, you should be in jail for life. But I feel like if he would have never came in contact with Gypsy, or Gypsy didn't ask him to kill Dee Dee, he wouldn't have done it, you know? And they keep saying he was mentally unstable and this, that, and other. It just feels not right, you know? It just doesn't feel right. It doesn't seem fair to him. I wonder how he feels about it. Gypsy has stated that only after Dee Dee's death that she realized the extent of her mother's deception. While Gypsy had known she could walk and eat regular food, she really did believe she had leukemia. Today, Gypsy is healthy, as we've seen all over social media, and she said she enjoyed more freedom in prison than, you know, life with her mother, Dee Dee. However, when asked by Dr. Phil if she was glad her mother was dead, she stated, I'm glad I'm glad I'm out of that situation, but I'm not happy she's dead. And that is where the article ends. Whoa, that was a roller coaster, and I'm so happy that I looked into this more to get a better understanding of what the fuck went down with Miss Gypsy. Gypsy is out here living her best life after all of this. She's out on ET, she's on The View, she's on podcasts, she's on TikTok, she's on IG. She's everywhere, okay? And so it's going to be interesting to see what happens next with Gypsy. I don't think Nicholas has an option for parole. So he's going to be sitting in jail, and I don't know if he, you know, is going to watch Gypsy out with her husband and, you know, this, that, and the other. It's so wild. So the part that they left out of this article, the biography, that I had heard a little bit of, is Gypsy claiming that Nicholas R-worded her. So I want to give like all sides of this thing. And Nicholas does look a little crazy in the eyes in this pic. Oh my God. So their love story began in 2012. Stop that. So he had a lot of stuff going on, this Nicholas. He was arrested in 2013 for masturbating in a McDonald's and having a concealed knife, and he was struggling with mental issues. His father says that he was also diagnosed with autism in elementary school. So, and also saying that he kind of was functioning on the level of a 15, 16-year-old and didn't really have normal social interaction history. And from the start, their online relationship was intense. Gypsy opened up about, you know, her situation with her mother. She was excited to be talking to Nicholas. She wrote about her relationship on a secret Facebook page she had and how serious the new romance was. Apparently, Nick eventually visited Gypsy, with the couple coming up with a plan to introduce him to Dee Dee during a movie date, which ended in disaster after her mother found Nick's behavior bizarre. So I guess, oh, I see that article left all that out. They met prior. Gypsy says that she got jealous because, that Dee Dee, I guess, got jealous because Gypsy was spending a little bit too much time and attention on him and had ordered Gypsy to stay away from him. And Gypsy says this in an ABC News interview. And they were arguing for a couple weeks, and this included Dee Dee yelling, throwing things, calling names, calling Gypsy a bitch, a slut, and a whore. And then eventually Gypsy revealed the truth to Nick about everything, her health, ability to walk, and abuse she was suffering at home. Nicholas told Gypsy, you know, I'd do anything for you. He wanted to make sure her mom was not going to harm her anymore, and he made sure of that. And the couple hatched their plan, with Nick telling police during the interview, honestly, she asked me to. When they asked if Gypsy knew he was going to murder Dee Dee. Although later, Gypsy told ABC News, I didn't hate her, I wanted to escape her. So the plan went down in that house from Habitat of Humanity on June 9, 2015. He arrives at Gypsy's house and carries out the murder. On the day of the murder, Gypsy texted Nick, the bitch is gonna go down tonight. Damn. And Nick responds, just the gloves and the knife. Ooh, this is cold-blooded. Nick responded, duct tape too to muffle her. Ooh. Gypsy says she would pre-cut the tape. Ooh. Oh my gosh. Gypsy relays, I heard her scream once and there was more screaming, but not like the kind in a horror film, Gypsy recalled. A startled scream. She called out my name about 3 or 4 times. At that point, I just wanted to help her so bad, but was so afraid to get up that everything just went quiet. During his interview with police, Nick admitted he did actually stab her mom, but Gypsy did not do anything. She was in the bathroom. After the murder, okay, the couple then proceeded to have sex in Gypsy's bedroom, which Nick claimed to be consensual, but Gypsy later alleges that Nick R-worded her in the HBO documentary, saying he tried to have sex with her mother's corpse. Oh gosh. So she made a deal with Nicholas to let him R-word her instead of that happening to her mother. This shit. So that's where the R word comes in. Okay, so I'm glad I'm getting a more well-rounded picture of this. So then after this, they went back to Nick's house in Wisconsin, and they sealed the murder weapon and stole $4,000 from Dee Dee. Damn. Whoa. And all this shit came out. And this mugshot of Gypsy, oh my gosh. Wow. Crazy. Crazy. So now after everything we've learned, and forgive me if you already knew all of this, I did not. After everything that we've learned, okay, I will be very, very real with you and admit I still don't know how I feel. I still think it's hella strange that Gypsy is an international superstar icon of the world, all on social media, getting a bag here and there. I think it's very strange, okay? But I do see that she endured something that was very traumatic, and I could not imagine. And I can see where people feel like this is self-defense. I also see where people think this is extremely fucked up and weird. And I also see where people, like, I agree with the sentiment that not everybody could do this, get 10 years, get out 7 years, and come out and be an international celebrity of the world. That's just not happening. So, yeah, I hope that this, you know, you learned something new today. I certainly did. This really brings up questions of like your morals and, you know, life and death, like all those things. It's really, really fucking deep. Clearly Claudine Dee Dee had a lot of issues. Doesn't seem like she was a good woman. I definitely feel like she knew what the fuck she was doing, was right and wrong, whether she had this mental illness, Munchausen by proxy, She displayed knowing right from wrong because she was doctoring birth certificates. Anytime something was questioned, she would up and fucking move. Like, she knew what the fuck she was doing. So I'm very conflicted. Very, very, very conflicted. But I think that seeing this in society, I do feel like we are so desensitized to so many things that we kind of just don't take shit seriously anymore. And Dee Dee's calling Dee Dee a queen, and I mean, not Dee Dee, Gypsy a queen, and all the fan cam edits, and it's just wild to see. It's a little jarring, you know? So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it to this point, I so thank you for clicking on this video and staying with me. Think about liking, think about subscribing. If not, I completely understand, but I will see you guys in another video very, very soon. Ta-ta.